Hello, my Valentines. In the For Everyone video above, I talked about creating an art project with your photography. In the VIP show this week, I shared the gallery of images from this project, and Raymond and I talked about the shoot. We talked to you about some of the equipment and the settings from the shoot, and I talked a lot about the lead up to the shoot, how I came up with the idea, how I organized it. I talked about the spreadsheet I used and how I detail planned each shot to fit into my vision. Now, you can find a link to that post below this video, but I have more to share from this shoot. So in this video, I'm going to go over to my desk and sit in front of the photos, and I'll show you each photo, and I will show you the section of my spreadsheet where I describe that photo. Plus, I'll share the exact camera equipments and settings and anything else that I can think of that you might find helpful. Here we are in Aperture, and these are the photos that I have edited, but let me start us in the document, the spreadsheet that I was talking about. This is how I organize all of my photo shoots. This is kind of like opening the kimono. Let me tell you, this is a little bit revealing. I've got all these different ideas for photo shoots up here at the top. And you can see that I had a Valentine's Day 2015 worksheet all ready to go and plan, and I'm not going to show it to you because I am going to do it at some later date with the pinup stuff. But like at the very last minute, you see I created this new document. I didn't even name it. This was also last minute that I had this idea to do this photo shoot that I've been wanting to do for a while for an art project, and it all finally came together for me. So here is, I'm going to go through and I'll show you guys exactly each of these as we look at each photo. But this is what it looks like, and you can see I also have like ground rules over here. These are the ideas. These are the ground rules for my project. I wanted this photo shoot to be a bit abstract. I wanted it to be close up. You would never see the entire body or even the entire body part. I just wanted it to be very very close up. And then I wanted I always say narrow. Look, I'm going to change this to say shallow. Shallow. There. Shallow depth of field. Possibly helped by editing. I was not averse to going through and actually blurring out with the blur tool if I needed to. And I ended up doing that on one or two photos, just a smidgen. And then I wanted them to be black and white, except for the set where I was going to be wearing red lipstick. Now, I'm not big on selective color, but I thought maybe I would try to make use of it or make use of some like muted color in the image. I did not end up doing that. I simply ended up making everything black and white, or leaving everything black and white anyway. And then I wanted to definitely use the 70 to 200 millimeter lens so that I can get like the proper perspective. And then I actually even took some notes down here for what I wanted to talk to you guys about. How, I was really approaching each one of these photos as its own work of art and as a collection of art. I changed my makeup for each one, and not necessarily for each one, but I was ready to change my makeup, my hair, my nails, and I really visualized how I wanted each of these shots to look, in case you couldn't tell by the details that I've got over here that I'll go through in just a minute. And then I also had those details, but I also had more of an overarching feel that I wanted this collection to have, because I did want them to be a set. I didn't want them to be individual photos that didn't make sense together. I did even have like a little bit of a story in my head for each one that, sometimes I came up with on the fly, but I feel like if I come up with a story, I'm better able to move my body, my face to make the image happen the way I want it to. So let's start at the top. I actually, I did these all in order, and I went through each one in order. And that's how well I planned out this shoot. I planned them out in the order that I knew that I would want to be shooting them. So let's head back over to Aperture, and you can see them. To start out, I did use the JPEG images that were monochrome already, so I didn't have to do any changing of the color. On the whole, with editing, I did very little. I did a little tiny bit of cropping, and I did some skin smoothing on the close-up of my face. Just a little bit though, because I mean, I look like what I look like, and I'm okay with that, usually. At least for this project I was. Now, let's start with this first image, and it is bondage. What I wrote down was that this was a bondage theme, and I wrote, hands bound on bed frame, oblique angle from above, everything but ribbon out of focus, head down, or at least down enough that I wanted to see my eyelashes, kind of, so that you would know that it was a face down there, depending on how, you know, blurred out it was. And then I was thinking that I wanted this photo to be vertical. It didn't end up being vertical, it ended up being landscape, but that's okay. And I actually also wrote, and possibly the reverse angle, because I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted the photo to be taken from. Now, in my head, I really wanted the photo to be taken from a little higher up over here, so that there was going to be less of the top of my head, but there's a wall over here, and it just wasn't going to be possible unless I pulled this bed out, and I just wasn't wanting to do it. So I actually am still pretty happy about the way this turned out. You can see that I stayed true to focusing on something, you know, an element in the image that maybe is an unexpected element, but in this case I was really wanting to focus on this ribbon. And Raymond actually said, oh my gosh, SnapChick, except he doesn't call me SnapChick. He said, oh my gosh, Leigh, no one's gonna like this because they're gonna think that it's a mistake, that you wanted to actually have your face in focus, and I missed focus and we got the ribbon instead. But that's not the case. This is exactly what I wanted, and I achieved it. I achieved it the way I wanted to. And let's see, settings. Settings, you can see them all over here. This was with the D800 and the 85mm f1.8G lens. I think, you know, Raymond was up on a stepladder for this one, so using the 70-200 on the stepladder and, you know, dealing with being a little bit close up to me, he just ended up, that's what he wanted to use for this one. Oh, and because he wanted to open it up wide to f1.8 to get that depth of field I was asking for. I wanted my face to be out of focus. And so that's how we achieved that with a real wide aperture. And that's about it for the excitement in the settings. By the way, he was shooting in manual at this point. And next photo is where I wanted my hands bound behind my back. I actually wanted this photo to be vertical as well, and it ended up, I ended up liking it horizontal like this. And I said from very top of undies to mid back to, and then to side of frame, where I meant I wanted me to be on the side of the frame. And, you know, ended up being a little bit, you know, down further than I expected. But when I was thinking about this, I wasn't really thinking about how, one, I have a tattoo back there that's being removed. That is ridiculous right now because you can see part of it and not see other parts of it. And I didn't really want to have to do a lot of editing to get rid of it. So I wanted to cover up my tattoo with my hands, and, you know, I kind of misgauged how long my arms were going to be and how they were going to hang down. These are all just silly little details that ended up, you know, that you find out when you're doing a photo shoot. Little things that you don't realize end up being kind of big factors to how you're going to create your image. So in this case, I ended up being a landscape image instead of a portrait image, and also, you know, having my arms bent more. And again, I really like it. Again, this is another one where Raymond was like, really? You just want me focused on the ribbon? And yes, Raymond, I really just want you focused on the ribbon. So that's how that one went. And, oh wait, I forgot to talk about settings. You guys can see him over here again. Raymond was using the D800 and the 85mm, shooting wide open. And in manual exposure, he was using a shutter speed of 1/200th to make sure that, you know, there wasn't any camera shake or motion blur or anything like that. And that's all for this one. I should mention that this room that I was doing this photo shoot in was pretty bright with sunlight, so there was no additional lighting. Just the sunlight for this one. And moving on to my next one. This one, the next couple of photos are the fetish of breasts. Of course, I wrote boobs because I don't actually say breasts in real life. I say boobs. And the idea of this one was that I wanted to be almost to the side in a black lace bra because I wanted the contrast. And I just really wanted you to see the tops of the boobs kind of on the side of the frame. I wanted it to be kind of a romantic kind of a photo where, you know, you're not just staring at the whole boob. It's more, you know, more a glimpse. It's a glimpse of the breast. And again, oh, this one actually switched up the camera to the D810 and the 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8 lens. And still shooting wide open and with a shutter speed of 1/250th, because when you are dealing with the 70 to 200, you aren't necessarily paying attention to exactly which focal length you're in. So at least me, and I assume that's why Raymond was at 1/250th as well. You kind of set your shutter speed for whatever you think you might get to. So if I'm going to maybe be shooting at 200 millimeters, I'm going to want to make sure to be shooting at a shutter speed where I'm not going to end up with blur, even if I am zoomed all the way in to 200 millimeters. You know, in this case, it was actually only 98 millimeters, but that's okay because he covered himself for anything. And moving to the next one, again with the boobs. And this one, I did want my hair hanging over the side here, and I wanted to only see a portion of the boobs. I didn't want them to be, I didn't want it to be zoomed out any more than this. And what else does it say? I said possibly leaning forward. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be kind of sitting up straight or leaning forward. I do really like the leaning forward look with my face here just peeking in and being completely out of focus in the foreground. And then I also actually really like the shadow, how it ends, you know, bright to shadowy over on the left side there. No surprise that he was shooting wide open with the 70 to 200. He didn't switch cameras in the middle. It was like I was sitting up, you know, turned to the side for the last photo, and then I turned forward and leaned forward a little bit, and he took this photo. There wasn't a whole lot of, you know, moving around and talking about the image. I just said briefly what I wanted him to do because these images were burned into my mind, so I almost didn't even have to look at my spreadsheet as I was going through. Next one is the fetish of like hosiery or socks. A lot of guys like those, and I was wearing fishnets in this one, so I wanted to be sitting on the bed, and I only wanted to be wearing the fishnets. I didn't want any additional like lingerie to be distracting the photo. I wanted it to be all about those fishnets. And I wanted just to be sitting up with the legs to chest. This is kind of actually a classic pose. Typically, you're going to end up with the photo being much, much further out so that you see the whole body. But I really liked how the just a portion of the fishnets are showing. You know, down here you can't even barely tell what's going on, but that's like the other side of my leg just blurred out with the fishnets. This one was taken with the D800. I believe Raymond switched this one so that he could achieve this kind of depth of field because he shot wide open at f1.8. Moving along to this guy, probably one of the more revealing photos I've ever taken because my ass is in it, but it's just a little section, and I really like the way this one turned out with just the blade of this foot, you know, being really in focus, and then everything else being kind of blurred out in the background. Again, f1.8 to achieve that kind of depth of field effect. I didn't add any blurring or anything to this. On to the boobs. More boobs. Oh, This one is out of order from the rest of them because, from the other boob ones, because this one I wanted to be in the studio. And we shot on the bed for the previous photos and then moved into the studio. And the reason I wanted to be in the studio is because I wanted absolutely nothing distracting from the cleavage. And I did actually kind of wear a fancy bra, which is a little distracting, but I also like how you can see this little, I think it's called eyelash lace, where you've got just the little bits of lace detail showing, and I think that's really pretty. As a girl, I just think that's really pretty. As an artist, I think that aesthetically it's really nice and really interesting and kind of mirrors the boob. So, as silly as that sounds, these are all just little different things that I think about and that go into an image being aesthetically pleasing, as things like the shapes mirroring each other or being in contrast to this nice round organic kind of a shape to you know, a real straight line here, just a real straight black line. This one I did actually go in and do a little bit of additional blurring up here. I wanted those straps, because they were so structural, to be a little more blurred out than they ended up being at f2.8. My boobs aren't that big to make the depth of field, you know, to make these outside of the depth of field. On to the next image. By the way, how silly did I feel standing there with my hands on my hips in my bra? Because I put my hands on my hips in this one. In the notes, I said that I either wanted my hands on my hips or my hands up in my hair, because I wasn't really sure. You know, you have to do something with your arms, and I knew that at least the suggestion of them would be in the image. So that's that. Moving on to the next, I think only one photo. Let me just take a peek. Yeah. So I only ended up with one photo for my red lipstick fetish. I know some guys like the red lips, and I actually had 3 photos planned out for this, but there were a couple things that got in the way. Number one is that I just don't have very big lips, and I really didn't have enough to work with to do the biting lip, or, you know, with my nails kind of touching my lip. I also feel like my mouth doesn't move in the way that I really wanted it to get that kind of coy, almost half smile that I'm kind of attempting to do here. But so those second two images didn't work out for me. And then also, yeah, these are red lips, but you can't tell because this is in black and white. So this image didn't turn out the way I wanted it to for the project. But on the other hand, I actually like it because it stands a little bit in contrast to the rest of the images. That it is my face, that you can see my eyes very clearly and my lips very clearly, and which is due to me doing a little bit of skin smoothing with this tool, the skin smoothing tool, and then going in and actually erasing the skin smoothing on my eyes and lips. In this case, that's not something that I normally do, but I did in this one. And I also like it because it's sort of a portrait of the artist. So that's that. Moving on to the feet. Feet and high heels is the next fetish that I was wanting to show. And I do not like my bare feet. I do not think they are attractive. I do not want them in photos. But I did take my shoes off for this photo and tried to, you know, only have some of my toes in focus and just have the suggestion of like high heels in the background. And moving on to the next photo is shoes on. I wanted to wear beige high heels. I wanted to wear these in particular because they're shiny. They're kind of a beige patent color, kind of a nude color. And I just like the shininess. I also think that they're really nice and pointy, which is real sexy. And they're also fairly new shoes, so the heel still looks nice. And in this photo, I wanted these heels to be the center of attention. I did not want, you know, a lot of my legs in the photo, but I wanted the entire shoe to be in the photo. And I wanted some of the toe cleavage to be like the focus of this image. that sort of worked out. For some reason in my head, these shoes came down further, so you would be able to see more of the toe cleavage. But, you know, in actuality, because I haven't worn them in a while, they don't. So you got a little focus on a little bit of the toe cleavage there. And by the way, this was achieved by using f1.8 on the 85mm lens. Actually, Raymond sat down on the couch that is opposite this area and used live view and just held the camera down further than his eye and took it that way. And then this photo is, you can kind of see some of the wear on my heel even because it's so crisp here, but I'm walking away. I wanted this spike heel to be what was really in focus, and I like the movement in this photo. I should mention that this was taken at ISO 4500 because even though I did actually have a light kind of up in this direction, it still wasn't providing a ton of light, and it was a little bit dim in this room, but I like the little bit of noise that's going on that you can kind of see in the shadow here. And last but not least was my voyeurism. Oh, I should mention, let me back up here. I had this other photo planned where I was going to be like sitting on a chair, my legs were going to be crossed, and one of the shoes was going to be dangling off my foot. And I love that look. I love it when I see that for some reason. I think it's pretty when you see like the foot with the shoe that's really pretty hanging off of the foot. But these shoes are really structured, and I had a hard time keeping the shoe on my foot while still hanging off, so it didn't work out. But moving on to the last one now. The last one is voyeurism. And so Raymond stood outside of my door, and there were mini blinds in the way. So you can kind of see these stripes here. Those are the little mini blinds that he's shooting through. And it is kind of foggy-ish because he's shooting through a window. And, you know, you can see my bathroom in the background. I wanted this to be kind of a stolen moment where I'm just doing something, hanging out, you know, taking my robe off, I guess, in front of an open window, and someone's outside looking in. And you can see settings. He did end up doing a little bit of exposure compensation. And that's it. The last thing that you can see on my spreadsheet here is that I had exhibitionism as a last set of photos that I wanted to do, and I wanted them to be in the backyard. Unfortunately, I would have had to be nude or at least half nude in the backyard to get these photos done, and I could not figure out how to do that without being nude in front of my neighbors. so I didn't end up doing these, but you know, I had everything planned out to do them. That's it. That's all of the photos in my project. Now, I shared a lot of information, but let me know if you think of any questions. You know you guys are my priority, and you can email me at pager@snapchick.com, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Happy Valentine's Day, guys.